So in this video, we're going to define the meaning of globalization as well as analyze the causes and consequences of globalization. So globalization is the process by which the world is becoming increasingly interconnected through trade and other links. Globalization is seen in the reduction of barriers to purchase foreign goods and services, make foreign direct investment and portfolio investments, as well as worker migration. And you've probably noticed this in your own life. You probably own at least one thing that was not made in the country where you were from. And you've probably noticed at least one company when you're walking in the shopping mall or down the street that isn't from the country where you're from. And you've probably noticed while walking down the street in a city that there are all sorts of people from all sorts of places. Hey, maybe your teacher at school isn't even from the country where you're from. All of this is a result of globalization. And so there are really four causes of globalization. Number one being advances in communications and technology. This helps firms manage remote teams and production facilities and helps households buy foreign goods. You can now buy foreign goods on your phone, on the computer. You can now start a business and not have to have an office. You can run a business totally remotely. Number two, improvements in transportation. And that's made it cheaper and more reliable to move goods and services over long distances. People as well can now travel long distances because of improving train networks, aeroplanes, and we don't really travel by boat anymore, so it's mainly those two. Yeah. Now, because logistics has been easier than ever. What do I mean by that? Amazon Prime, right? You get whatever you want in 2 days. You can order something and then get it within 2 weeks if you've ordered from a different country even. And so improvements in transports have made it cheaper and more reliable for us to experience all kinds of goods and services from different countries. Removal of trade restrictions promote international trade. As the world has gotten smaller and smaller, people have realized that trade actually benefits both parties. And so we have governments and organizations like the World Trade Organization, the International Monetary Fund, that's working towards a future of global prosperity, and that future includes international trade. Number four, removal of restrictions on foreign direct investment and merger and acquisitions in some countries encourage multinational corporations to expand into that country. And so we've realized that it takes foreign direct investment and portfolio investment to charge up an economy, to make it grow, to break poverty cycles, and to start this virtuous cycle of economic growth. Now, there are four indicators of which we use to measure globalization. World trade to world output ratio. And so this is a indicator based on the world, right? The amount of trade, right? The value divided by the value of output that's being produced. That kind of tells us what percentage of value goods are being traded in the whole world. Number two, exports to GDP ratio. This is similar to trade divided by output, but it's based on country. So if I take the value of my exports and divide it by GDP, I'm now able to tell within one country what percentage of the output that it generates is being traded away. Three, foreign direct investment to GDP ratio. This is also country-based. And with this number, we're able to tell what is the percentage of our output compared to the investments that foreigners are bringing into the country to start a business or for mergers and acquisitions. And then number four, worker migration patterns. This is can be world-based or country-based. Like I can look at the net migration just for a specific area or a specific country, or I can look at the whole world and see, okay, how many people are moving and finding jobs in different countries. And so globalization comes with a few consequences, both positive and negative. We're going to go over the positive ones first. Number one is specialization and comparative advantage. So there's an increase in the efficiency of firms because businesses can just now trade and economies can just now trade. Households can just now trade for what they want. And so they're able to specialize and get really good at producing one thing and then use that thing to trade for whatever else they want that they do not produce. Number two, lower prices. So trade restrictions and transport costs, all of these have been reduced or are gone in the case where we have trade agreements. And all of this works to lower prices for consumers. And so they can now enjoy a higher consumer surplus. Number three, there's a larger variety of products for consumers, right? One of the arguments for why countries import is so their citizens can enjoy a larger variety of products, and as a result, they have a higher standard of living. That's good. And number four, direct and portfolio investments can reduce income inequality by increasing productivity and wages in certain countries. So remember that direct and portfolio investments are ways we could use to break the poverty cycle by increasing investment and increasing output, increasing incomes and increasing savings, so on and so forth. If we're able to do that in a low-income country, we're able to increase their productivity and wages, and we're able to affect income inequality on a worldwide basis. Now, there are also negative consequences of globalization. And just because there are 6 doesn't mean that overall it's bad, right? So let's look at them one at a time. There's structural unemployment from specialization of economy towards one industry or sector. So imagine if the country all of a sudden started to focus all the production on 1 or 2 industries because they want to be specialized. Well, a bunch of people from other industries that are no longer thriving are going to run out of jobs and go unemployed. And it's going to take time for them to find another job, get retrained. Number 2, countries are now more vulnerable to demand and supply shocks from external reasons because of increased trade. And this is especially the case for export-led economies where a large percentage of the country's GDP is dependent on foreign money buying our goods and services. So this is especially true for places like the Maldives, for places like Sri Lanka and Dominican Republic. That's really dependent on tourism from people that come from higher income countries. Number 3, portfolio and direct investment may be withdrawn without warning for a variety of reasons, and this would have a negative multiplier effect. So the government all of a sudden could change a law, and that could cause portfolio and direct investment to just go down, yeah? Or another government in another country could open up their economy to FDI, and so now country A's FDI and portfolio investments now goes down because all the money is flowing towards where the profits, interest, and dividends are. Then number 4, there's greater mobility of factors in production, but this can constrain domestic policy. So for example, if a country and government wants to have higher income taxes so they can fund welfare programs because there's an aging population, but there's high mobility of factors of production between your country and another country, then people might just move to the other country, right? The working population might just move from France to Ireland or France to the UK because the countries are so close and one country has more favorable tax laws. If that's the case, then the country trying to increase their tax just because they want to fund transfer payments and welfare payments, that country is going to lose out because the working population is just going to leave. Number 5, it's harder to reduce pollution because of MNC market power. So with globalization comes the idea that corporations are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, And these corporations are really powerful. Like companies like Coca-Cola, companies like Huawei, companies like Toyota, companies like Apple, Facebook, they have a lot, Amazon, they have a lot of market power. And that could potentially influence government policy because now governments are disincentivized from creating anti pollution laws just because they know if that's the case, that company might not operate in that location anymore. And it's going to hurt the local economy. Number six, we're going to need more international cooperations of policies in order for individual countries' policies to be effective. And you can see this in number four, right? If France wanted to increase their income taxes, then all the countries around them should do the same thing if France wants that to be more effective because of the high mobility factors of production.